There's a quiet pressure that follows the oldest child long after childhood ends. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask permission. It simply settles in and stays. It's the feeling that you're supposed to know what to do, that you should have it together, that mistakes are somehow less allowed for you than for everyone else. If you're the oldest child, you probably don't remember when this expectation began, only that it always seemed to be there, watching, waiting. From an early age, you learned you were being observed differently. You were the example, the reference point, the one others looked to, often without saying it out loud. You learned how to behave before you learned how to ask for help. People describe oldest children as responsible, mature, reliable. They say things like, "You were wise even as a kid." And those words sound like praise, but praise carries weight. Because what those compliments really mean is that you learned to hold yourself together early, to manage expectations, to be careful. At some point, you noticed that when things went wrong, eyes turned to you first. When something needed doing, you were expected to know how. When someone needed support, you were already there. So you adapted. You became organized. You learned to anticipate problems before they happened. You learned how to be useful, and usefulness became safety. Oldest children often learn that being dependable matters more than being expressive, that keeping things running smoothly matters more than being overwhelmed. Someone has to stay steady, and more often than not, that someone is you. You may remember feeling older than you were, being expected to understand things that weren't explained, to be patient when you were tired, to be calm when you were scared, and because no one questioned your ability to handle it, you didn't question it either. You just did. Over time, responsibility shapes identity. You don't just act responsible, you become the responsible one, the planner, the mediator, the one who thinks ahead. You learn how to read the room, how to notice what needs fixing, how to step in before things fall apart, and people rely on that. They assume you'll manage, they assume you'll cope, they assume you don't need much. But assumption is a heavy thing to carry. Oldest children often feel there's less room for error, that if they fail, consequences ripple outward, that mistakes are more visible when you're the one everyone counts on. So you become careful. You overthink decisions. You weigh responsibility against desire. What do I want? What needs to be done? Which one matters more? Over time, wanting begins to feel optional. You may notice how uncomfortable it feels to fall apart in front of others, how quickly you regain composure, how instinctively you say, "It's fine," even when it's not, because being the oldest often meant being the stable one, and stability leaves little room for mess. You may also feel deeply responsible for other people's well-being. If someone struggles, you take it personally. If something goes wrong, you wonder what you could have done differently. That responsibility doesn't switch off when childhood ends. It follows you into adulthood, into relationships, into work, into your sense of self. You may be drawn to roles where you're needed, where you're relied on, where your presence makes things easier for others. And when you're not needed, something feels uncertain. Because if you're not holding things together, who are you? Oldest children often struggle with rest. Stillness feels unproductive. Relaxation feels undeserved. There's always something to manage, something to prepare for. Even when everything is fine, your body stays alert, because growing up, things were rarely allowed to fall apart. Someone had to stay composed. You may also notice how difficult it is to ask for help, not because you don't need it, but because needing it feels unfamiliar. Support flowed downward, not upward. You were the one others leaned on, so you learned to carry things alone. And over time, that carrying became identity. People see your competence, your strength, your reliability. They don't always see the pressure behind it, the fatigue of always knowing, the weight of always managing. Being the oldest teaches you how to function, how to lead, how to endure, but it also teaches something quietly, that being strong is safer than being soft, that being capable is safer than being unsure, that being needed is safer than being vulnerable. And once that belief forms, it doesn't stay in childhood. It follows you. To understand more, here's a simple truth. The oldest child is often introduced to responsibility before security, not because parents intended harm, but because someone had to be first. First to experience rules, first to carry expectations, first to be corrected. There was no model ahead of you. No proof mistakes would be forgiven. No reassurance someone else would catch what you dropped. So the nervous system adapted. Psychologically, oldest children develop a heightened sense of accountability, not just for actions, but for outcomes. They learn to associate safety with control. If I stay organized, nothing will fall apart. If I stay capable, no one will be disappointed. If I stay strong, everything will be okay. This belief doesn't begin as pressure, it begins as competence. Neuroscience shows children given responsibility early often develop advanced executive functioning. They plan ahead, regulate emotion, anticipate consequences. From the outside, this looks like maturity. On the inside, it often looks like vigilance, because vigilance keeps things running. As adults, this shows up as perfectionism and overfunctioning. Difficulty letting go, difficulty delegating, not because you don't trust others, but because you don't trust things to unfold without you. Rest can feel unsafe, not because you dislike it, but because when you're not monitoring, something might go wrong. This creates a quiet anxiety, a sense of always being on call, always responsible for the bigger picture. Oldest children often have a complicated relationship with authority. They learn to respect it early, but also to replace it when necessary. This can make them natural leaders, but it can also make it hard to relax under someone else's care. Being supported feels unfamiliar. Being dependent feels uncomfortable. Being unsure feels like failure. There's also deep emotional restraint. Because you were expected to set the tone, you learned to contain your feelings. Anger felt disruptive. Sadness felt inconvenient. Fear felt impractical. So you learned composure. Over time, control can turn into distance. You may know what you feel, but struggle to express it. This doesn't mean oldest children don't feel deeply. They do, but they often feel alone with it. Another layer is attachment. Because you were relied upon, love became linked to usefulness. When you're helpful, you're valued. When you're capable, you're praised. This can lead to relationships where you're appreciated for what you provide, not who you are. You become the fixer, the supporter, the dependable one. And when you're not needed, something feels unsettled. There's also quiet grief, moments you wish someone else would lead, times you wanted permission to not know what to do, but permission rarely came. So you became someone who doesn't wait for it. As adults, oldest children often burn out, not because they do too much, but because they never learned how to stop. They carry responsibility long after it's theirs. They manage emotions that aren't theirs to manage. They solve problems that weren't theirs to solve. Life becomes something to oversee, rather than experience. And yet, within this psychology are real strengths, resilience, intuition, the ability to lead under pressure. Oldest children know how to hold space, how to endure, how to remain steady. The problem isn't that these traits exist, it's that they were never optional. Healing doesn't mean becoming less capable, it means learning that capability doesn't define worth. It means resting without justification, asking for help without guilt, being unsure without shame. It means recognizing the part of you that carried everything was trying to protect you. But protection is not the same as freedom. Eventually, you realize you're allowed to step out of the role. You don't have to be the example anymore. You don't have to hold the entire structure up alone. At first, this realization feels destabilizing, because if you're not the responsible one, who are you? Slowly, something shifts. You experience softness without fear, support without debt, connection without performance. You learn you're allowed to be cared for, not because you earned it, but because you exist. The oldest child never stops being observant, never stops being capable, but over time they can stop being alone in it, and that's when responsibility changes, from burden into choice, from survival into balance, from who you had to be into who you're finally allowed to become.